Randy Cunningham. Duke?
I also want you to stick to your line on the increases, the biggest that you have. Our feeling is that if Dick Gephardt can spend us in with all 13 appropriations bills, spend us into oblivion, back into a debt and a deficit, and put us into the trust funds, he wants to take the majority. And that's one of the issues in which we feel, at least the perception that the other side, outside of this committee, is trying to do. So you stick to your guns and over a long period of time. And you've got a lot of us that support budgets and keeping the deficit down and also enhancing defense as we can. I also want to mention that you've got some tough decisions that are coming up, and that a lot of that is because of the 124 deployments that we went into in the last administration. I think we could have been, not well, but I think we could have done fairly well with our budgets, with a balanced budget in defense, if we hadn't had to go on 124 deployments, which has killed our readiness, it's killed our retention, it's also driven those old machines, as you talk about, those antique machines, into the dirt. That's why we're here today. And that's why I think when you say lifting every rock, that's what we have to do. I'm going to be asking you, and I want to give you some recommendations here, and I think that some areas that you can save. I know you're a big supporter of Global Hawk. So am I. But you know especially General Shelton, when you're working in Bosnia, Yugoslavia, and Kosovo, you know the value that the Predator gave us. The Predator B is not funded till a later year. I think you can actually save money while you're getting Global Hawk on the road and funding ahead of time that Predator, and I think my colleagues and Norm Dixon them supported as well, because it can do right now what you're trying to re-engine and stuff with the Global Hawk and the things that you're trying to do. Secondly, ARGM. I was shot down with an SA-2 missile, and I want a system that'll go out there and knock out those enemy radars 90 to 100% of the time with a kill probability. It's now called Quick Bolt. They've had 2 successful shots, 100%, bullseyes, supersonic, and it knows, I mean, the enemy can shut down the radar, and the GPS says, hey, I know where you're at, and I'm going to kill you. It's an area which is going to save lives. It's going to enhance readiness. It's a 5-inch rocket. You can put it on any one of you can put it on a P3 if you had to on a thing. I want to thank you. The ship repair issue, I got a call that afternoon, Mr. Secretary, and we're hoping, for some response on that coming down the line. And Don, I want to thank you. I mean, with your limited staff and what you've got to do, that call was very, very important, those things. And that's what we were talking about, the communication. And boy, the meeting that you all had, I think, was outstanding also. I also want to thank you for the Andy Marshall. I had some heartburns with the Andy Marshall review. And from what I'm hearing from the service chiefs, they've got access now. And that's going to save a lot of dollars in the long run. You don't want bean counters and academicians and curmudgeons making those decisions without military, because in the past it's got us killed and it's hurt us. But this is a study in which the previous administration, and I'm sure that your predecessor, looked at, and every time you make changes within the building and eliminate bureaucracies. And we talk about Department of Education having too many bureaucracies. Well, DOD does too. And like the Commandant of the Marine Corps wanted to buy camouflage gear, he could do it at 1%, but yet your Pentagon buyers wanted 22% overhead. Mm-hmm. This study, which was not acted on, I think, because of all the lines drawn in the sand, this will save you money.
Is that the Panero?
Yes, sir.
I've had every senior civilian official get briefed on the sections of that relate to their area of responsibility. I agree with you. There's an awful lot of very interesting things in there.
Let me give a pitch for training. Many people don't know that Captain O'Grady was not trained in air combat when he got shot down. General Ryan wasn't knowledgeable of that until I brought it, and I looked at his records. He wasn't even trained in air combat. He had got shot down with a surface-to-air missile. The helicopters we lost in Kosovo, those pilots had never flown at night with a combat load and using night goggles, and we lost we lost personnel, we lost 2 helicopters. So training, you fight like you train. We had a Navy Fighter Weapons School, we had a 1-to-1 kill ratio in Vietnam. It's one of the reasons I was after the Andy Marshall thing, against a very poor enemy. And then the military came in and threw out the civilian view, and we went up to a 12-to-1 kill ratio. I'm going to meet with General Ryan this afternoon, and you're aware of the Su-27 and the follow-ons and the weapon systems that they have. Unless we reinvest, and I know at a time like this, in our adversary, both your Air Force Fighter Weapons School and your Navy Fighter Weapons School, which services the Army and Marine Corps, is brought back up to speed. You got 75% of those airplanes are down. And you can't fight even assimilated old MiG-17 and MiG-21 right now in those schools. So I think that's critical as well.